Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The house of Ethan and Mira's grandfather stood on the edge of the village, its sagging roof and ivy-covered walls, giving it the look of something long forgotten by time. The siblings had spent many summers there, rummaging through the relics of their grandfather's adventurous life, though nothing had ever seemed more than dusty mementos. But today was different. Mira's voice echoed from the attic. "Ethan, come look at this." She stood in a corner, her eyes wide with excitement, holding something small in her hand. Ethan climbed up the creaky wooden ladder, dust swirling in the golden light filtering through the small attic window. "What is it?" Ethan asked, wiping his hands on his jeans as he walked over to her. Mira opened her palm, revealing an ancient-looking key, intricately designed with swirling patterns etched into its surface. It was unlike anything they'd ever found before in their grandfather's collection. "I found it in that old chest over there," she said, pointing to a small weathered trunk in the corner. "It looks important." Ethan took the key, feeling its cold weight in his hand. "You think it opens something around here?" Mira shrugged. "Maybe, but Grandpa never mentioned it." Something about the key tugged at Ethan's curiosity. He glanced around the attic, eyeing the dusty walls, lined with bookshelves and faded maps. His eyes landed on a strange, faint mural painted on the back wall, the design neither of them had ever paid much attention to before. It depicted a large, floating city amidst clouds with winged creatures soaring through the air. "Have you seen this before?" Ethan asked, walking closer to the mural. Mira followed him, her brow furrowing. "Not really, but I feel like it's been here forever." As Ethan moved closer, the key in his hand began to feel warmer, almost as if it were reacting to the mural. Before he could say anything, the key suddenly glowed with a soft white light. Startled, they both stepped back. As the mural shifted, the clouds in the painting seemed to swirl, and a shimmering portal formed right in front of them. Ethan and Mira exchanged a glance. "Do we go through?" Mira asked, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan's heart raced. He didn't know what lay beyond the portal, but something deep inside him knew they had to go. "We have to," he said, gripping the key tightly. Without another word, they stepped through the glowing portal, the air around them crackling with energy as they were whisked away from their world. When the light faded, they found themselves standing on a platform high in the sky, surrounded by endless clouds and a city that seemed to hover in the air. Towering spires made of gleaming white stone stretched toward the heavens, connected by delicate bridges, while creatures with wings glided gracefully through the air. Mira gasped in awe. "Is this Sky City?" Ethan nodded slowly, unable to tear his eyes away from the breathtaking view. The city was unlike anything he had ever imagined. The buildings shimmered with a soft ethereal light, and the air felt charged with magic. As they stood there, taking in the scene, a figure descended from one of the spires, his large, feathered wings carrying him down gracefully. He was tall, with pale skin that seemed to glow faintly, and his wings were a brilliant silver. His eyes, a deep shade of violet, regarded them with curiosity. "I'm Arias, leader of Sky City," the figure said, his voice gentle but commanding. "You must be the children of the one who held the key." Ethan and Mira exchanged a quick glance before Ethan spoke. "You mean our grandfather? He's gone now. We found the key in his house." Arias nodded solemnly. "Yes, your grandfather visited our city many years ago. He was a great ally. It seems fate has brought you here at a time of great need." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" Arias gestured toward the city around them. "Sky City is powered by an ancient energy source, the celestial core. But it is failing. Our city is on the brink of collapse. And without the core, psi power, we will fall from the sky." Mira's eyes widened. "Can't you fix it?" Arias shook his head. "We have tried, but the key you possess may be the answer. Your grandfather once spoke of a hidden chamber, the Chamber of Winds, that holds the last remaining energy crystal. Only with it can we restore the core psi power, but the chamber has been sealed for centuries, and only the key can unlock it." Ethan looked down at the glowing key in his hand, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over him. "We'll help," he said firmly. "If this key can save your city, we will find the chamber." Arias smiled, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Thank you, but be warned, the journey will not be easy. The chamber is hidden deep within the city, and there are those who would see Sky City fall. You will face many dangers along the way." "We ready," Mira said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eye. With a nod, Arias motioned for them to follow. Then let us begin. Time is running short. As they walked through the city, Ethan and Mira marveled at its beauty. The streets were lined with elegant, floating lanterns that glowed softly in the fading light of day. Winged creatures of all shapes and sizes flew overhead, some resembling birds, while others looked more like humans with wings. The city seemed alive, but there was an underlying tension, as if everyone knew that time was running out. Arias led them to a large, ornate door at the base of one of the tallest spires. "This is the entrance to the Chamber of Winds," he explained. "Beyond this door lies your path." Ethan stepped forward, holding up the key. As he approached, the door began to hum with energy, and the key glowed brighter. Slowly, the door creaked open, revealing a long, winding staircase that disappeared into the darkness below. Mira swallowed nervously. "Here we go." They descended the stairs, their footsteps echoing in the stillness. The air grew cooler as they went deeper, and the faint sound of wind whispered through the wall. At the bottom of the staircase, they found themselves in a vast chamber, the walls lined with ancient carvings and intricate symbols. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and atop it rested a large glowing crystal. But before they could reach it, a figure stepped out of the shadows, his eyes gleaming with malice. Ravis Arias muttered under his breath. The man standing before them was tall and imposing, with dark, leathery wings and a sneer on his face. "I knew you'd come," Arias Ravis said, his voice dripping with contempt. "But it's time too late. Sky City, Side time has come. It's time for it to fall." "Ravis, stop this madness." Arias pleaded. "The city doesn't have to fall. We can save it." A cold, bitter sound. Save it? Why would I want to save it? It's time for a new order. Ethan stepped forward, his heart pounding. "We won to let you destroy the city." Ravis's eyes narrowed. "And who are you to stop me, boy?" Ethan clenched his fists, his mind racing. He wasn't sure how they were going to stop Ravis, but he knew they couldn't. He let him take the crystal. Before anyone could react, Ravis lunged forward, his wings flaring up behind him as he dove toward the pedestal. Ethan and Mira barely had time to react as a fierce gust of wind knocked them off their feet. Ethan scrambled to his feet as Ravis darted toward the glowing crystal. Instinctively, he grabbed a nearby piece of rubble and hurled it at the dark-winged figure, hoping to slow him down. It missed by a wide margin, clattering uselessly across the floor. Ravis sneered but kept his focus on the pedestal. Arias acted quickly, his wings snapping open as he shot into the air, his movements swift and graceful despite his age. With a powerful sweep of his wings, he unleashed a gust of wind that threw Ravis off course, sending him spiraling away from the crystal. Ravis growled in frustration, but before he could regain his balance, Zephyr appeared from the shadows, his smaller but agile frame moving like lightning as he launched himself at Ravis. The two winged beings collided mid-air, wrestling for dominance. Zephyr's determination was clear, but Ravis was stronger, and with a brutal shove, he sent Zephyr crashing into the far wall. Ethan's heart pounded as he watched the battle unfold. He had to do something. He couldn't just stand there. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Mira inching toward the pedestal, her eyes locked on the crystal. She was small and quick, slipping between the chaos of flapping wings and blasts of wind. Ethan knew what she was trying to do. If she could grab the crystal, maybe they could stop Ravis from destroying it. Arias and Ravis continued their aerial fight, both using the wind to their advantage, but Ravis was relentless. His attacks grew more vicious, and it was clear that Arias was beginning to tire. Ethan's gut twisted with fear. They were running out of time. Mira was nearly at the pedestal, her fingers just inches from the glowing crystal. But Ravis noticed her. With a roar, he broke away from Arias and dove toward Mira, his eyes blazing with fury. "Mira, look out," Ethan shouted. Mira froze for a split second, her hand still outstretched toward the crystal. Ravis was moving too fast. There was no way she could reach the crystal before he reached her. Ethan's body moved before his mind could catch up. He sprinted forward, his legs burning as he pushed himself faster than he ever thought possible. Just as Ravis was about to grab Mira, Ethan lunged, tackling his sister to the ground, out of Ravis' reach. They hit the floor hard, the impact knocking the breath from Ethan's lungs. He gasped, dazed, but forced himself to focus. Ravis reached in frustration, his wings flaring as he circled back for another attack. Before Ravas could strike, a blinding light filled the chamber. Ethan blinked against the brightness, squinting to see what was happening. The crystal on the pedestal was glowing even brighter, now its light pulsating with raw energy. The key still in Ethan's pocket began to hum, vibrating against his leg. Mira, her eyes wide, looked at him. The key, she whispered, its center reacting to the crystal. Ethan fumbled to pull the key from his pocket, his fingers shaking. As soon as he held it up, the crystal's light seemed to intensify, and a low rumble echoed through the chamber. The key grew warm in his hand, and before he could react, it shot out of his grip, drawn toward the crystal like a magnet. The key floated in the air above the crystal, spinning slowly. Ethan and Mira stared in awe as the key began to merge with the crystal, the two glowing objects becoming one. A surge of energy rippled through the room, and Ethan felt the ground tremble beneath him. Ravis, momentarily stunned by the display of power, hesitated. That hesitation was all Arius needed. With a final burst of strength, Arius launched himself at Ravis, tackling him mid-air and driving him into the ground with a thunderous crash. Ravis groaned, disoriented, as Arius pinned him down, his wings spread wide in a show of dominance. "You will not destroy the city," Arius said, his voice steady and cold. "Your reign of terror ends here." Ravis struggled beneath him, but it was no use. The power in the chamber seemed to have drained him, and he no longer had the strength to fight back. Zephyr, recovering from his earlier crash, limped over to stand beside Arius, his face set in a grim expression. The crystal, now fused with the key, hovered above the pedestal, radiating an intense, almost calming light. The rumbling stopped, and the trembling ground grew still. Ethan could feel the energy in the air, a sense of balance being restored to the city. Arius lifted his gaze to Ethan and Mira, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You have done it. The city is saved." Ethan breathed a sigh of relief, his muscles aching from the tension. He helped Mira to her feet, and the two of them approached the pedestal cautiously, as if still unsure whether the crystal's power would hold. "What happens now?" Mira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Arius stood tall, his wings folding neatly behind him. "The celestial core will be restored to its full power. Sky City will continue to float above the clouds as it has for centuries. Thanks to you, we will not fall." Ethan's mind raced as he tried to process everything that had happened. It all felt so surreal, like something out of one of their grandfather's old adventure tales. But this was real. They had saved an entire city, a city that most people on Earth didn't even know existed. Mira stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the crystal. "What about the key? Will it stay with the crystal?" Arius nodded. "The key has served its purpose. It will remain here, locked within the power of the crystal. It will ensure that Sky City's energy source never fails again." Ethan felt a strange sense of loss as he realized they wouldn't be taking the key back with them. It had been their link to this incredible world, a symbol of their connection to their grandfather's legacy. But he knew that leaving it behind was the right thing to do. Zephyr, still nursing a bruised wing, limped over and gave Ethan a crooked smile. "Not bad for a couple of ground dwellers." Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. "I guess we got lucky." "More than luck," Zephyr said. "You've got heart. That's not what saved the city." Rava, still pinned beneath Arius, let out a low growl. "Do you think this changes anything? The city may survive for now, but it's only a matter of time. The world below is changing. Sky City's set time will come to an end eventually." Arius sat, gaze hardened. "Perhaps, but today is not that day." With a flick of his wings, Arius signaled for Zephyr to take Ravas away. Zephyr nodded, grabbing Ravas by the arm and hauling him to his feet. Ravas struggled weakly, but didn't he resist as Zephyr led him out of the chamber. Ethan watched them go, a strange sense of finality settling over him. It was over. They had won. Arius turned to them, his expression softening. "You are welcome to stay in Sky City if you wish. You have earned a place among us." Mira's eyes lit up at the offer, but Ethan shook his head. "Thank you, but we need to go home, our family. They're waiting for us." Arius nodded in understanding. "Very well, but know this. You will always have a home here should you ever wish to return." He raised his hand, and the shimmering portal that had brought them to Sky City reappeared in the air before them. Ethan and Mira exchanged a look, knowing that this adventure was coming to an end. As they stepped toward the portal, Arius called out to them one last time. "Your grandfather would be proud." Ethan felt a lump rise in his throat, but he smiled and nodded. With one last glance at the glowing crystal and the majestic city beyond, he and Mira stepped through the portal and into the warm, familiar light of their grandfather, Sensata. The portal closed behind them with a soft whisper, leaving the attic quiet and still. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They stood there, taking in the silence, the weight of their adventure slowly sinking in. Finally, Mira broke the silence. Do you think we'll ever go back? Ethan glanced down at the now dull key still lying on the floor where the portal had been. He bent down and picked it up, turning it over in his hand. Maybe, he said softly, but for now, I think Sky City is safe. Mira nodded, her eyes lingering on the faded mural on the wall. Yeah, I think so too. They left the attic and descended the stairs, their footsteps echoing in the old house. Outside, the sun was setting, casting the village in a warm golden glow. Everything looked the same, but Ethan knew that nothing would ever feel quite the same again. As they walked home, Ethan couldn't help but glance up at the sky, half expecting to see a glimmer of Sky City among the clouds. But the sky remained quiet and blue as if nothing had changed. But Ethan knew better. Sky City was out there, floating above the clouds, its people safe once more. And in his heart, he knew that their adventure was far from over.